by the way, my team was working flat out, right? People were on holiday abroad from pre-arranged holidays, and you would not know it. You know, they were there present from 8 o'clock in the morning till midnight as if they were at work, right? And you know, I did feel sorry for them, but I have a phenomenal team, right? I have a phenomenal team. And so we decided that if what we considered a British politician was doing was being complicit in a war crime, then we could hold them accountable for it, right?
And how did you guys get around a table and just sort of hash out how you were going to go about this, or how?
Yeah, we got around the table, we thought about it, we know the law. The law is like, you know, it's easy, right? It's not easy, but you know, we understand the law. And we thought, well, hang on a minute, this is different to previously, because when it's happened previously, British politicians don't stand up and sort of try to show who's the strongest supporter of Israel. They don't do it in that way, right? But this time they were. Now, I can understand it to some degree because the horrors of October the 7th meant that people were falling over themselves to say solidarity with Israel, right? And we're making them, I mean, the way I put it was that they were either recklessly being complicit in it, or worst case scenario, purposefully being complicit in it. So we issued letters, right? Public letters, because we decided not that we were going to make the threat, but that we were actually going to prosecute, right? And we issued letters to the leadership of the Conservative Party and the opposition, mainly because we were surprised that Keir Starmer, an international law expert, human rights law expert, would take the position that he took. So he didn't do it recklessly. He was doing it intentionally. We were really concerned about statements being made by David Lammy, Emily Thornberry, James Cleverly, Rishi Sunak, and others, Lisa Nandy included, right? And so we issued a letter putting politicians on notice that they were running the risk that they would be prosecuted for being complicit in war crimes if they carried on with that rhetoric. Now, one of the conditions of a politician being complicit is that they have to be put on notice, right?
First.
So the letters that we wrote in private put them on notice, but these public letters, which went viral, everybody was talking about it all around the world actually, put them on public notice. Within hours, we saw them move from their position of complete support for Israel to now starting to talk about international humanitarian law needs to be respected. So that's the first thing that we did, right? And it was important. Now, they can accept or deny that it was because of our letters, but what they won't deny is that they don't want to be prosecuted in a British court for complicity in war crimes, which is where they were heading, right? And my team would have been presenting complaints to Scotland Yard and the ICC about individual politicians who we consider to be complicit. But something really interesting happened. Some of them lowered their rhetoric, accepted. Some of them didn't. And we are preparing case files with regard to those politicians. Yeah, we are.
Do you want to name names?
No, because we are responsible in what we do. And remember I said to you that it shouldn't be us doing it, it should be the police and CPS and law enforcement agencies. So we adopt their methods. And what we will not do is name individuals who have not been convicted or are not being prosecuted. So where we issue complaints, we'll say we have issued a complaint against a person who's a politician. It's not fair to name them. We're not in this to bring hate on individuals or put individuals in danger. That's not our business. Our business is to hold people accountable for the wrongs they've done through a proper legal process. And so we are preparing those complaints about some individuals. One individual, which I won't say what, but one of the things that he wrote to his constituents was pretty disgusting with regards to civilians in Gaza. And so, but there's also another aspect of this, which is you can say, so part of my domestic legal practice is representing people accused of terrorism, okay? And you can fall foul of British counterterrorism laws quite quickly and quite easily. Threshold's quite low. I think that the same threshold is a threshold that should be applied to politicians. So if a politician is saying something along the lines of, Israel has a right to self-defense. We agree with what Israel is doing, and doesn't condemn those actions as war crimes, which are clear now, right? If anybody wants to have that discussion, they can have that discussion, but they're clear now, right? and then says, oh yeah, but just off the wayside, they should respect international law. Well, that's not convincing, right? It's about your actions and your speech to prevent Israel from committing that war crime. Otherwise, you're still encouraging, right? So if let's look at it the other way around. If I'm supplying Hamas with weaponry, right, or support or encouragement, and then I say, oh yeah, Hamas, can you, like, when you kill all those innocent people, can you just do it according to international law? I would be prosecuted, right, and spend the rest of my life probably in prison for that, okay? Well, why doesn't the same standard apply to our politicians, right? And what I think a mistake that international human rights organizations, lawyers like me, have made over the last 75 years is to ignore Western political complicity in Israel's crimes. And that's going to stop now, right? I hold no quota for any politician anywhere in the world that wants to support a war crime, be it Israel or anywhere else. It's time to hold the political class responsible for what they're encouraging, aiding and abetting and doing. Because you know what? When you kill, right, because of your political decision, the son or the daughter of somebody in Palestine, when you do that, they have to live with that for the rest of their lives. And I'll add this to this as well, right, Tanya? That same responsibility applies to this political failure, applies to the son of a daughter of a Jewish person in Israel, right? That parent has to live with that. Not because that Jewish person or that Palestinian person have done anything wrong themselves, but because of the failure of these politicians. But you know what? They end their political careers or their term in government and think, oh, that's it, I'll go off and get a really good job in some investment bank. We're not going to allow that this time.
So tell me, with these letters that are the action that's going to move forward, where would you file these complaints and how would it proceed? And
So let's just before I say how we're going to proceed, that's one aspect. What we're now doing is we've launched the Justice for Gaza campaign, where we are the primary actors in collecting actual evidence from the ground in Gaza and Israel about war crimes. We're doing that, and our body of evidence is growing. And you may have seen that we presented some evidence to Scotland Yard recently in the form of eyewitness testimony from inside the hospitals. So what we are shortly going to do is we're going to submit complaints about crimes against humanity, genocide, important to talk about that as well, and collective punishment. We're going to lodge these complaints with Scotland Yard and the ICC, and we'll provide in our complaints the complaint, so the law will be written out. It'll be like a prosecution file that you get from the prosecution service, as good if not better, right? And it will have the evidence to support the complaint. And we will provide Scotland Yard with the details of the perpetrators, along with the complaint, along with the evidence. And what we're going to do with that, and so our first complaint will be on collective punishment, which I'm just going to, because people are watching this and say, he doesn't know, collective punishment isn't a Rome Statute crime. Yes, I know that, right? So collective punishment is not in the Rome Statute. So the ICC doesn't have jurisdiction over the concept of collective punishment, but it's a Geneva Convention crime. So the fourth protocol makes that a crime, and the UK has jurisdiction over that. So we can still bring these complaints, and this gives an idea of what we're going to do. And my decision in, if you like, being the prosecutor, the chief prosecutor in the team, is that we are going to prosecute by supplying Scotland Yard in the UK this evidence. We're going to supply it to the Karim Khan at the ICC, because he's got a very important job at this moment in time, crucial. If the ICC is going to endure this crisis, then he has an enormous responsibility on his shoulders. But that's not where we're going to stop, right? We are going to, if we can, apply for private arrest warrants. Now, of course, the British government, through the Attorney General, has sort of a fix that they put in place after the Tzipi Livni arrest warrant that we applied for successfully and got, might intervene and stop that. That might happen. But you know what? It's not just the West anymore, right? The world's changing. Geopolitics of the world is changing. Now we've got the global South. We've got India. We've got China. We've got countries across the globe that have been criticized for decades for not applying international humanitarian law in their own way. And now they're seeing that the West is actually only paying lip service to it. Well, I'm going to encourage them to apply international humanitarian law to their judicial systems. And so we're engaging in conversations with them. And when this politician that I talked about from the UK who thinks, I've done my 5 years, I've now got this fantastic job in some investment bank, as they travel to Malaysia or Singapore or Colombia, Venezuela, watch out. Yeah, because they might. And they're likely to. And one of the reasons they might do is because they might say, these are your laws. These are laws you've been hitting us over the head with for ages. It's not going to be safe for any political actor, military actor, that has engaged in war crimes. And as far as, it doesn't matter, I was going to say, as long as I live, it's probably a bad thing to say. As long as ICJP and lawyers like me exist, and there's plenty of us, and organisations like ICJP exist, and once we've set that track off, it works by itself. And that's really important, because if we believe in a system of international humanitarian law, it's not Western humanitarian law, international humanitarian law, can be applied by anybody anywhere in the world.